See, I've always said actually that the first act of violence in the world was the line drawn between land and water, because that act was actually also a containment of water. So water has been the first victim of violence. I would think that allowing water to be free would be just an amazing act of design. And I would like to think an analogy there would be, that, if I had to use the element of water to measure the freedom of a design practitioner, I'm sure that they would love to see this momentary release as the moment of freedom that they can express themselves.
We have to teach many different people and many different categories of people how to think differently in relation with the landscape, but the water is a very powerful tool to use, because the present, the necessity, the urgency as well, and you live about it, and you understand easily the relation with the water, with other processes of nature and different scales and so on.
I would think that the landscape architecture discipline actually is a discipline defined by design as an agenda, and then it is supported by history and science and ecologies and all that. Makes it a complex discipline, no doubt.
This was one of the few conferences of Isola where, strangely enough, none of the speakers were actually landscape architects. That was quite amazing because they were from a very, very diverse background. We had trained biologists, ecologists, to social urbanists and so on. But essentially everybody was engaging with the idea of landscape from very diverse perspectives. So that helped bring the conversations together. It helped to frame the dialogue of water and landscape as a multi-sectoral issue rather than being limited to one single profession.
I thought it was great that there were people invited who are not designers or academics within design. So having someone who's trained as a chemist or another person whose actual background is sociology, I think that actually really enriches the conversation that we have. So by having academics and professionals talk to one another, there's a kind of sinusoidal wave, and I think it's very nice to think about going between both. So that I thought was very successful.
What we do in academia actually is not producing people for the profession, but actually challenging the profession in some way.
Well, I think that the interaction of the academics with the practitioners is a must in our modern world. It would be nice to have still pure research, but this is just a myth nowadays. I think that the message from the practitioners has to be driven to the academics in order to influence their research. And so these occasions, the conferences, the workshops, the meetings, are the perfect way to put the two worlds in contact.
When we started thinking about the event, we were wondering how to frame it, what the thematic would be, and so on. So one thing that was very, very strongly felt by many of the participants from previous conferences was that the event had to be engaging and participatory.
I think it's a fabulous idea as a way of actually involving audience, as not audience, but as actually participants.
We weren't just cordoned off into a room and being talked to the entire time, and that we as speakers also weren't just speaking at the audience, but I think both the ratio of two speakers generally and then a break was very nice.
The diversity and the experiences of the resource persons made it also quite rich. Everybody has a different angle on water. None of the 5 or the 6 ones work in the same areas, and that contributes also to the original, to the uniqueness of the experience.
I like to have a few plenary speeches in the morning when people are fresh and ready to get all the messages, and then to have instead interactive sessions where even the more shy participants have had a choice to tell something and to be protagonists for even for a few minutes, but that's have been a way for involving almost the 300 and more participants of the conference.
For me, that was a great opportunity to interact with people from all stratas, from very senior professionals all the way to students. And I got the sense, especially from the students, that they really appreciated that they got to undertake this talk, have a discussion, and particularly in my group, we really focused on both drawing and speaking so that we could have hopefully a more pointed and focused discussion. And what was also great was that both days in the workshop, we talked about the presentations that were made, and not just kind of what was said, but what was imagined or what was a kind of analytic takeaway from the projects that we saw. So I thought that was fantastic.
It's a very good structure to take up in 3 different parts, which are the natural resources as a socio-cultural aspect, and taking up also the design aspect. For us young landscape architects, I think it's a very good platform to learn, to interact with all the professionals over here.
ISOLA conferences in Bangalore have always been very innovative, because unlike other conferences where you just go to session after session and people are just talking at you, this becomes very interactive, very diverse. So the main aspect about this format is this participatory, inclusive workshop sessions that are designed. The other thing I also liked about is that even the plenary sessions do not have too many speakers, only 2 speakers, and there is a forum for moderated discussions.
This was to ensure that there was equal level of engagement and participation, but more importantly, there was this opportunity for everybody, be it somebody still in undergraduate school or a fresh graduate, young professional or an experienced professional. Everybody has the same opportunity to make their voices heard.
It's not speaker and audience, but it's a mix, and there is more interaction with the speakers, so there's more opportunity to learn from them.
Especially because I could see the young minds ticking away, thinking about what difference they could bring to their design boards, how they could contribute to the question of water.
The speakers were very well chosen. The topic, I think, was very well articulated, but there was a new component of the workshop which I think created an enormous dialogue between the audience and the speakers, and where we got to interact more with the speakers at an intellectual level beyond just asking questions.
I mean, the structure of the conference as such in terms of themes, I mean, I can look at a cultural attribute in a natural resource, and I can look at a natural resource in a cultural attribute, and so on and so forth, I mean, in design. So we couldn't escape actually, flowing between that and the workshops. I think if water has done anything here, it has shown that you can't categorize anything very easily. I mean, in any topic, more than maybe that's just the flow.
You seduce me with the idea of water and society, but most with the way that you develop the graphics of the W. It's like a fingerprint in the territory that connect with humans and people, but with basins of rivers and so on.
It was smoothly organized, and that makes all the difference. There were no technical obstacles, it went just smooth. So that made it a very pleasant experience.
What did I really like about the conference is we were waiting for it for 6 months, because the build-up was really nice. The Habbas, the thesis open day, the Rangoli exhibition, this exhibition. So it's not been a 2-day event, it's been a 6-month event. And I think that's what we really carry back.
The conference was a very interesting mix of concerns, very, very serious concerns, but I thought the little ingredient of humor made it very alive.
It was real fun working with the professionals and the students, and the kind of interaction and the kind of enthusiasm which was there. The serious topics were taken in a much, much different way.
There's a subversive nature to academia that challenges the profession. Now what I noticed actually over here with that last skit, for example, and the turn to activism and the kind of pressures that were put, I mean, I would think that any practitioner would probably love to suspend their practice just for the relief of the imagination being free.
It's a different way. ISOLA's given us a different perspective on this particular topic. We are reconnected with the water in a different way.
Topic of water should be really faced all the times. You can't consider water only as a technical aspect, because it involves for sure the social aspects a lot and also the economical ones, unluckily, but it's like this.
Many of the issues and problems that face the world are global problems. I mean, from terrorism to sea level rise to what have you, and I think landscape architects have a lot to contribute. India has its own peculiar problems, and I would like to think that perhaps maybe the workshops and things like that could become more rooted.
Many of the problems that are related with India are universal or happens in other parts. For example, in South America, we have a lot of similarities in many different things. So I came here with the spirit to learn, to share ideas as well and to receive feedback about it. And I found that. Sometimes I go to Europe or to the States. For me, it's very difficult to find it. It's not because it's good or bad. It's because we belong to a very different cosmology, spirit, and reality as well.
Personally, I'm not believing so much in borders. The Earth is a little planet. We should consider it as a unique thing. And so up to me, every kind of event should be really international, to be more informed and to exchange with other experiences maybe already done. And if you don't exchange, you will never know this.
I see so many commonalities actually between the United States and India on a certain level in terms of their size, in terms of diversity that exists there. I mean, of course, India is far more diverse, especially linguistically and culturally. But on the other hand, India is such a kind of fascinating laboratory, especially because of both population density and the monsoon, especially in an age when we're talking a lot about climate change. In a context where you have the monsoon that's so capricious, in many ways, dealing with those changes has been taking place here for so long that the conversations we can have here, and I think focusing on India, actually can lead to rethinking practices and models outside of India. So it's not so much about trying to bring things in, but really see India as a kind of laboratory that's dealing with a lot of things that other parts of the world are either already starting to or going to very soon.
India has so many problems. It has also so many possibilities. And I do believe that once that key is found of realizing, we will be an example for the world.
The two reasons, I think, to be on the global stage is just to raise ISOLA beyond the limits of India, just for the sake of engagement, but also for the sake of building a certain sense of identity. But I feel it's a way of actually seeing that India can contribute. And this might be a great opportunity, I think, to raise the conversation to that and encourage that strength.
There is now a great deal of interest from members from across the country who would love to see this taken forward in other events. One, it will help us give us a great level of continuity in terms of managing themes, in terms of engaging with issues on a continuous basis. But also it gives us this opportunity to bring in greater awareness in the larger society, whether it is the student community, the design community, hopefully engaging also with public authorities. So this promises to have some very exciting possibilities in the future.
We are in a very interesting moment. Some things are changing. We were talking about the kids, how they think in more systemic way, interconnected. It's easy for them today to understand things. The conference goes in that direction, but the challenge is huge. To change preconceptions with the people that belongs to our generation is I don't like to say impossible, but you have to have very powerful tools and experience and examples and so on. But the future, for me, I think in the future with optimism. I am positive about it.
India has this fantastic ability of accommodating water in so many dimensions that we could learn. I use an example from Benares. I don't know if you know this, Raghura is an image of two persons playing chess. On a shop front, actually with one foot in the water, totally focused on chess. So I said that in America they're yelling, flood is here, flood is coming, flood is coming, water is coming, and there's a lot of fear. I said, look at these two. I said, they're focused on chess, and the water is already there, covering their feet, and they're just totally oblivious of it.